So we're recording now.
Okay.
We're here. You're in Chiang Mai. I'm out here in Southern California. Thanks for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here with you, Charlie.
hmm And can you just explain what you're doing in Chiang Mai right now? You're all over the world all the time, bouncing around from New York to Bali to Thailand. What brings you to Chiang Mai? What are you up to these days?
So I started a journey where I quit my job, sold everything, and decided to basically go on a quote unquote spiritual journey. And part of that journey, about 3 years ago, I ended up in Chiang Mai. And when I got here, I immediately fell in love with it. The energy, the people, the warmth of everyone and everything, and this kind of energy of when you come into this place, you have an intention, everything just seems to support it, and you can make anything happen here. And also, everything is very calm and peaceful. So, after being here at that first time, it was about a week. I decided to come back again, and I ended up, that was about a year later, and ended up staying for about four months. And then I just came back for another 4 months. I'm about to leave to go to Bali in a couple of days. So I've just spent another 4 months here because I love it. It's a beautiful, amazing place.
hmm And like we were talking about earlier, it kind of has that interesting digital nomad tech vibe slash spiritual environment, which seems like an interesting mix to be in, especially you kind of coming from both of these worlds.
Yeah, I like it here because it actually has the two sides. So it's got the wellness, it's got a very big wellness and spiritual community. But then at the same time, it's also got this very big digital nomad community. I think it's one of the top rated digital nomad places to work in the world, or to live and work in the world. And the great thing about it is these two communities, if you look like a Venn diagram, it crosses in the middle. And I like to kind of straddle the two because, as you mentioned, I did come from that world. I didn't grow up, living in a cave and living in a very peaceful environment in the country or something like that. I actually came from a background where, I was working in the modern and corporate world, and I still have a lot of that in me, and it's not something that I regret doing. It's just part of me. So at the same time, I found spirituality and wellness and made that kind of my priority in life. But it's good to actually have the two overlap each other. So I'm kind of working or living with one foot in one and one foot in the other. So Chiang Mai allows you to do that.
Interesting. That's a difficult line, I think, to straddle. Um, but I think what you're proving right now is it's not impossible. Can you I want to go back to your New York days. So you lived and worked in New York for quite a while, kind of worked your way up the corporate ladder, um, before kind of setting off on this personal journey. Can you walk me through what that was like and kind of what kickstarted this
Yeah,
process?
absolutely. Yeah, I think it'd be good to just give a little bit background of where I was and how I ended up where I am here. I want to take it back before New York. I'm Australian, if you can't tell from my accent. But I grew up in Australia, and I started my career actually working in creative agency. In fact, I started my own agency at the age of 21, which I ran for 6 years, a digital creative agency. And then I sold that at around 26, 27, and worked for one of the largest, worked as a director for one of the largest advertising agencies in the world in Melbourne. Did that for 3 years, and then I decided when I turned 30 to go to New York. When I got there, I also worked in agencies here and there, but I ended up landing a job with Burberry as head of digital marketing for the Americas, which I held that role for about seven years. Now, from the outside, you would think, wow, what a successful guy, what a great life. On the outset, definitely, I had the career, I had the job, I had the status, the social life, the money, the apartment, all that great stuff. But you know what? Deep inside, I always felt small. I didn't know who I was. I suffered actually from chronic anxiety. And every day I would literally go into work feeling panic attacks because I was kind of in the wrong environment for who I am. You know, a lot of the places I was working at was very politically charged, and the environment was very competitive, and you know, in the corporate sense, quite aggressive, and all that stuff that comes with kind of working in hierarchical kind of corporate political cultures. And my makeup is definitely not like that. And then what happens is when you work in an environment, you spend pretty much all your waking hours in an environment that's going against your grain, your body will start telling you, you will start breaking down. You will get things like super stressed out. You would get anxiety like I did. So every day I would literally go and work at panic attacks when my throat would shut down. I can't talk. I would get brain fog, meaning that I could not process any thoughts in my head. And I would get these attacks. And the worst thing was afterwards, you know, that might happen for about 10 minutes, 5 minutes, 2 minutes, but I would spend the rest of the day ruminating how bad that situation was, how unworthy I am, and all these things that basically knocked me down. So I basically lived my life like that for quite a long time. But at the same time, I was very good at pretending, you know, and I think most people who work in those environments are very good at just showing up and pretending nothing's wrong and going, you know what, it's normal to feel this. It's normal and anxious. I can tell you it's not normal to feel like that. It's 100% not normal to wake up every day and not feeling like you want to go to work, or you are stressed out or having these physical panic attacks. So I spent about, actually in Melbourne, as I mentioned before, around 26, I spent about 12 years working on myself. Like, I started seeing doctors like in the Western sciences, so psychologists, like different therapists, psychiatrists. I was on medication for a very long time. I thought I had a brain tumor at one point. It was so bad. I saw a neurologist. I tried everything and nothing seemed to work. And about 7 years ago, I decided to kind of give it all up and just try something else. Instead of medication, called meditation. And the closest place I can find. Sorry?
So you broke up a little bit. You said medication, and then it
Instead of medication, I tried this other thing, also starts with an M, called meditation. And that, I remember just going, okay, I've never done any yoga or any spiritual wellness type work before, but somehow intuitively it just came to me, going to try it out, found the closest place to where I was living. I remember walking in, doing my first class, and then coming out of going, wow, I am home. Not that the place I was doing meditation at was my home. It meant that I found this thing that I know was going to change everything for me. And I remember going to Washington Square Park and sitting there for 2 hours, just feeling this feeling and just going, wow, what is this? And just having this expansion of knowing everything is going to be okay. So from that day onwards, I just became a spiritual junkie. Like I started learning everything I could in the Eastern kind of healing world, you know, going to as many workshops. I picked up yoga, like asana yoga. I meditated. I began to meditate frequently, eventually got to daily meditation practice. Did all the things that I can go on, like retreats, and read as many books as possible. But eventually I did that for about 4 years, and then I realized, or it came to me like a bolt of lightning, that there's more out there. And it was time. It was like this message that came and said, it's time to quit your job, sell everything, and go and search and keep going, you know? So I did that. I ended up packing my bags, and I started traveling 2016, and I'm still on that journey now. So it's been about 3.5 years. And that journey has also changed quite a bit from the day I started till now. But that's what led me from what I was doing, who I was in New York, to starting the journey and ending up being in Chiang Mai talking to you right now.
Here we are. What did
Yeah.
you say when you picked up, sold everything, and left? Did they think you were nuts, or
No, well, maybe they thought I was nuts, but they didn't really say it, right? Maybe some people did, but majority of people was just like, "Can I come? Can I come with you? Please, can I come with you?"
yeah,
I mean, it was funny. Yeah, I think people were more, maybe envious is the wrong word. They actually wanted to do what I was doing, and they saw that maybe they were proud, or they were inspired. Let's say they were inspired because I had the courage to do something that they've always thought about or wanted to do. No one's saying you have to leave for 3.5 years, but some people might even say, look, I just need a break from my job for a couple of months, but they still can't get themselves to do it, or just creating some space for themselves. So majority of the people were just, everyone was super supportive, and people thought it was amazing that I was doing it. And that's back in the day, where now there's a lot more people doing that because the world is also changing a lot. But back in the day, I wasn't the first, but definitely it was the beginning stages of this movement. And then let's talk about my parents. My parents were, you would think, oh man, like I've just had this amazing career working in very high level status kind of environments, etc. But they were super supportive. They were just like, how can we help? So that was really awesome as well, to have the support of my parents while I told them that. They didn't even question it. So
amazing. So this led you on a 3-year journey, and you said that things have kind of changed over time. Have they? And through that process, you've been to many different countries. I think I read on your blog you've been through, I mean, Eastern Europe to Nepal and East Asia. Were there a few kind of like critical, key, transformative experiences or realizations that you had?
yeah, funny you should ask, because there were definitely phases that I went through, which I'll share with you guys. Yeah, I traveled to about, I think, over 40 to 50 countries in this time that I've been traveling. And I see my journey in three phases. Okay. The first phase was what I called the seeker's journey, meaning that I was basically in this mode of searching and seeking. And when you're seeking, you're looking outside of you. It was kind of this beginning stages of needing help from guides and teachers um, outside of me to show me the path and the tools. So I spent a bit of time basically just seeking and learning, and actually mostly healing. For me, it was just like everything hit me all at once. And I knew I needed to deal with all the stuff that was coming up. It's funny when you create space and go on long journeys. I'm sure you've had these moments yourself. Things will start popping up out of nowhere, and these are things that you've hidden, you've pushed down into your unconscious, and because you never want to deal with it, and then now you've created space, it comes up, and I had to deal with a lot of this stuff, and I knew this is my time to do it, and I did that. And the funny thing is, when you start working on this like dedication to healing, so I was actually dedicated 100% on working on myself. So it was like I was working, but I wasn't working for a company or someone else. I was literally working for and on myself 100% of the time. I would spend, like the whole day, literally, except for sleep, every waking hour, just doing work on myself. And eventually what happened was the healing began, and it was like the clouds started parting all around me. I was able to see clearly. The light was coming in, like this kind of, like it was like I was seeing not only things clearly around me, but I also started seeing myself and who I was. So then when that happened, that was stage one, phase one. You stop actually seeking so much. You stop looking outside of you. So I started kind of moving in from a seeker journey into an experiencer journey, meaning instead of looking outside, I was just experiencing what's in front of me. I was being present in the moment. I didn't need to look outside of me anymore. I started seeing myself and who I was. So I was having a great time because I was still on this adventure. I was traveling around the world. So I was just living moment by moment, not knowing really where I was going to be. Maybe tomorrow I'll just kind of wing it and just end up somewhere and just have adventures. And it was amazing when that happened. And I was still doing a lot of spiritual work and work on myself at that time. But I remember at one point, because I was so present and not looking so much outside of me, literally, and I remember the point that happened. I was in a Vipassana meditation, like a 10-day silent meditation retreat where we meditated 12 hours a day. I remember messages came in, just like the message that told me it was time to leave and go on this journey. I remember seeing clearly that I knew what my purpose was in life, and that purpose was to heal the world through transforming people. And when I received that, I was just like, okay, great. I have my mission in life. I have purpose. But then it was like, okay, well, what does that actually mean, and how am I going to do that? So the old me would have been like, all right, quick, let's create a strategy, let's create a project plan, let's put a timeline together and like plan out like all these like vision of what it's going to be. But I realized that's not how it was supposed to work. I just needed to keep being present, keep experiencing, keep living the life, keep following my heart. And you know what? Eventually, insights and information started coming to me on how I was going to fulfill this mission in my life. So then it kind of moved into this third stage where I started understanding, okay, I wanted to build this platform for storytelling because I met so many people on my journey. Literally spoke to thousands of people who were similar to me and going through their own work and figuring out stuff out, and their stories are amazing. Like everyone comes from different backgrounds, but I just love hearing their stories. It was so inspiring where they were, what they were doing, and where they are now. So it inspired me to tell their story to the world and use the power of storytelling to also inspire others who are in the same position as I was in, as you were, to take that step. Before, when you asked me, what were people thinking? They all wanted to do it, but they just didn't have the courage. Well, if I wanted to show these stories and to inspire them that whatever you're thinking that's stopping you from taking that step, actually many people have already overcome that. And here's the story to inspire you to do it. And then that also led me to tell stories of what I called healers. And healers are just like my name for anyone who works in the wellness world, who's either helping someone to heal themselves or to find their true purpose in life. And I started telling stories of both sides. To also, the healer stories really are educating people on all the modalities that are out there. Should you want to take that path, what's available? And through the power of storytelling to educate people and inform and entertain and make it really accessible for them. So this idea came up for me, and when that came up, I saw myself moving into what I called the manifester or the creator or the sharer phase, meaning that I've started as a seeker, then went into an experiencer, and with all the information and the experience and knowledge and wisdom that I picked up, and it wasn't even the 3 years of traveling, it was 12 years ago of just working myself, I knew I can now start giving it back to the world and helping others to also move on their own transformation path. So now I'm in that third stage, and it's been about a year and a half where I've been evolving this platform seekers and healers I've mentioned to you. So basically, yeah, that's the framework of it.
Uh,
Oh,
wait, you broke up for a sec. Uh,
okay. Where do you want me to cut back in at some point? Where did
yeah,
I cut out?
I just realized it looked like the audio just cut out too. One sec.
That's okay. Take your time. We can repeat it if you need.
Let's hello, hello. Okay, we're back with the audio. Okay, let's start back up right at the creator phase. So you went
Okay,
into the
cool.
share phase.
So when I realized that I had this idea, and this is how I was going to fulfill my calling of healing the world through transforming people by telling these stories through my platform Seekers and Healers, I moved into this third stage, what I call the manifester or the creator or the sharer phase, meaning that I started as a seeker and then I went into become an experiencer. And then through all this time, I was gaining knowledge and wisdom and information. And it wasn't even just the last 3 years of traveling and being around the world. It was the last 12 years of basically working on myself and all the wisdom, knowledge, and information and experiences. I'm now in this stage where I can give back to the world. I can take all this and bring it into the world through the power of storytelling to inspire others and to help others to move on in their own path. So now I'm in that stage, and I've been here. I've been evolving my platform for the last year and a half, and it's changed a little bit, which I can get into a bit more with you if you like.
Yeah, yeah. So you started Seekers and Healers. Before we dive into that, one thing that I think is talked about a lot is personal work, self-work, and like you said, you were working on yourself every day, like the whole day. Like, what did that look like? Like, was it
Mhm.
meditation? Was it yoga? Was it just like self-analysis, reflection, or because I feel like there's so many different ways to sort of do that. I'm curious what yours
Yeah,
is.
I mean, I've tried everything. I mean, not everything, but a lot of things under the sun, from obviously meditation, but I've tried like many types of meditation practices and different types of yoga practices, energy practices, trauma release, like practices, like kinesiology, um, other type of modalities like shamanic stuff like ayahuasca and Buffer Alvarez. I mean, you name it, I've
Uh,
basically done it, right?
what
So,
was this one?
oh, Buffer Alvarez is it's basically DMT from a frog's gland. It's the same ingredient in ayahuasca, but it's taken from a frog's gland, and it helps transformation through a psychedelic experience. Let's just call that. Um, but yeah, so my day would actually be, when it was a really intense day, I would meditate for 2 days. Oh, sorry, not 2 days. I would meditate for 2 hours in the morning, and then do yoga for 2 hours, and then maybe journal for a little bit. And what else? I would then probably start meditating again. I would do energy. So I'm also now an energy healer as well. So I would like do energy healing on myself for a couple of hours. Go for swims at the beach, like when the sun's setting, when the sun's rising, and then do like other work that other people would help me. So I'll see like different healers at the same time while I have my own practices. So my current practice right now it's much more minimal in that, but I would wake up. as early as I can get, but I would start off by doing some form of exercise. So usually I would do half an hour to an hour of yoga, or I would do some like fitness, like body weight exercises. But then I would always meditate between half an hour to an hour as well. So my routine would be about 2 hours, and usually I have a journal next to me. As soon as anything comes up, I would process it through what I would call a meditation journal. So that's kind of the minimal version. But back in the day, when I was 100%, had nothing else to do, work myself, it would literally last for a whole day.
Yeah. See, it's what's really interesting about that is that, and after this, I want to dive into Seekers and Healers to explore really what you're doing on that creator piece. But what I think is really interesting about this is that seems to be kind of this to and fro, this like back and forth between, do you work on yourself or do you work on the world, right? Like, do you better yourself, or can you better yourself by bettering the world? And maybe it's a little bit of both. You kind of go the seeker and then the creator phase. Would you equate those two phases as that sort of balance?
I can answer that. For myself, and I do see this in a lot of people that I've come across, I really believe that we need to do the work on ourselves in order for us to even begin to start helping others in the world. And that's not to say get to a point where you're completely free of any things that get you stuck in life. Doing enough of the work, you actually start seeing the light inside of you. Stress or traumas. Yeah.
You said actually start seeing the light inside of you.
I believe that it's important first to work on yourself in order to get to a point where you can actually see yourself clearly, a bit more clearly. And we're not saying getting to a point where we are completely enlightened and we don't have any like baggage that we're holding on to. I mean, that would take probably lifetimes to get to, but to a point where you feel more free and liberated. Because when you're stuck with anxiety, when you're stuck with traumas, when you're stuck with negative experiences that you're still holding on to, or even just stress, the run-of-the-mill stress, it's very hard for you to even fathom how you're going to help others because you're still dealing with your own crap. Mm-hmm. It's like, as I said before, it's like you're blind, like, because you're only seeing like not very far in front of you, and you're turning the attention into all the negativity inside of you, and that's your whole day and your whole world. But when you work on yourself, it's like the clouds start parting, and then you start seeing so much more in front of you. And at that point, you feel more liberated. You're not holding on to so much baggage. You feel free, and that allows you to start sensing the world around you. And also what happens is you open up your heart, because you're opening heart in yourself. You also start connecting with others and the world. And there's no way you don't want to go and help them, right? And I want to answer this in another way that's more scientific. As I told you, I've been documenting these journeys and experiences and the journeys of people who's been going on this path. So I've spoken to thousands of people, literally, and I've documented tens, if not in hundreds of people. But what I've seen is that there's a pattern, okay? And the pattern is this, and it's similar to the framework that I mentioned in my own journey. Usually what happens is this person will see that something is wrong in their lives, okay? And it causes them to wake up. So that's stage one. Something is wrong. Something is not right in my life. And they wake up, and then they go, because it's so strong and they've waken up from it, they actually go, I need to do something about it, because if I don't, I'll either cease to exist, or I need to work on it to make it better. And then that takes them to stage 2. So they go on the journey. The journey will actually be, whether it's a physical one or an internal one, or usually it's both. They go on the journey and they start working on themselves. They face challenges, adversity, they face their own crap. And then when they overcome it, they get to the other side. And that moves them into the next phase where they take their wisdom and everything they've learned to bring it back into the world to help others. So every story and every person that I've come across, 100%, I'm saying 100%, right? There's no one that never went through those phases. And it's pretty amazing because it doesn't matter what background you came from, whether you had any altruistic, whether you wanted to ever help anyone or never even had that thought at all, you will end up, if you go through that journey, you'll end up wanting to give back and help the world. And in fact, I don't know if you know Joseph Campbell, he came up with the hero's journey. Okay. That's exactly the hero's journey. Yeah. So it's not just me making it up.
It's like built into our DNA almost, right? This process for thousands of years.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the basis of story writing and storytelling as well, So yeah, that's basically how it works.
Mm-hmm. So walk me through seekers and healers then, kind of how you're exploring people on their journeys and how you're using storytelling to then kind of help other people.
So as I mentioned, yes, I've kind of gone through many phases. There's been a kind of quite a big natural evolution in Seekers and Healers as a platform, as a brand, as a community. Where I've landed now is I am here to guide people home. And that's my mission. That's how I'm kind of putting forward who I am and what I offer to the world, meaning that our home is not where we live, where our friends and families are, what our job is. Our home is deep inside of us. So why do we even go on these journeys, and why do we go on these wellness activities, do these wellness activities and seek spirituality? At the end of the day, we're really just trying to figure out who we are and what we're here to do, and how do we actually go about doing it. I believe that's our mission in life. And if we can figure that out, then everything's going to be amazing and beautiful. So through my own journey, I've realized that this is what I want to help people to do. So in the evolution of Seekers and Healers, I've realized that, okay, I have this content platform of storytelling. So now I create content as stories to guide people home. So that's my mission, fulfills my mission of helping people find or guide people home. And then also I have another, I've moved into doing something else, which is teaching meditation. And the meditation practice is what I call a practice to guide you home. So Seekers and Healers is the content and storytelling platform of wellness content. All the content is geared to guide people home. And then the practice itself, I can directly give to help people transform and find their way home to themselves. So in terms of Seekers and Healers, I've got different types of content. So I've got the main content that I'm creating now. If you can imagine Chef's Table, my vision and what I'm building is basically Chef's Table for wellness industry. So instead of the chefs that I'm telling stories about, I'm actually telling stories of anyone who's kind of a healer, working to help people heal or to find their true purpose. And in that way, I'm actually also educating people on what the modality is that they're giving out there. So just say I'm telling a story of the Vipassana teacher, right? Instead of going, okay, well, when you go to Vipassana retreat, first thing that happens is this, and then this happens, and then that happens, and this is the process, and this is the science behind it. Yes, that's important, but what's more important is the story behind it. So if I can use a Vipassana teacher to tell their story of why they even picked up or learned with Vipassana in the first place, and then how they actually teach it, and how it's relevant and resonating to them, that's actually more interesting than just going in a very dry kind of uniformic way of all the things that happen in Vipassana. Because I can tell you, every person, including healers, have a story to tell. They usually have gone through their own journey, and whatever healed them was the thing that they're actually giving back to the world, coming back to the framework of hero's journey that I mentioned before. So I'm here to kind of tell that story in order to inspire, and then also to educate people on the modalities, so people can understand if this is right for them and is something that they want to pick up on their own journey. And then in Seekers and Healers, I'm telling, I give insights in different, like I actually get on video and I actually talk about different insights that come to me on a daily basis, and yeah. So, and I also do interviews as well. That's what I want to mention of people who have gone on these journeys via Seekers and Healers.
Okay. Yeah, you know what I think is really interesting about that is that, so for example, my personal experience, I know there's been multiple points where I've been like kind of overwhelmed. I'm like, where do I start? There's so many different ways, right? So many different ways to get better as a human being, but a lot of stuff feels very unrelatable or a little maybe impractical or too far out there. And I think what you're doing is really, really powerful because it's showing the humanity behind all these different practices, and it makes it real, and it shows exactly how these modalities, like you said, transform people. I'm actually curious, when you were going through your journey, did you have like a go-to source for learning about different modalities?
No.
No. Okay.
That's exactly why I'm doing this. Thank you for asking that, because I actually imagine, and sorry to cut you off, interrupt, but I know where you're going with this. It's, I look back and see the 12 years that I've been so dedicated into figuring out why all these things are happening to me and how I can fix it, quote unquote, fix it. And I imagine, wow, okay, if I had a resource that gave me all that information that I just spent 12 years trying to garner and get for myself, it would actually save a lot of time. But that is not to say you want shortcuts. I'm talking like a true New Yorker. We just want the quickest, shortest cut way to get there. You still have to go on the journey yourself. Like, there is no shortcuts, but is there a way that I could help people to just give them a little bit more context and information and insight into navigating the landscape of wellness out there? As you know, right now, wellness is so big, and every day there's new things coming up all the time, and different versions of the old. And even if you look at meditation, there's a bazillion types of meditations now, and also even more different types of meditation teachers. So how do you know what is right for you? How do you even understand what's the difference between all these things? If you go on the internet, there's like, the information is not that great, it's so disparate. And some of it you don't know is credible, and you can't even tell what's credible and what's not. And also, like, if you're looking at the teachers themselves, without actually trying them out, you don't actually know if it's something that connects to you. Even if they're really great and experienced in what they do you actually connect with them? Do you resonate with their energy and how they teach? I believe if I can do this kind of content and tell their story, you can probably immediately get a sense of who they are, and you can connect with them in that way.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, they're kind of like me. they come from they have a similar sort of personality or tendencies, and because I think that's kind of what we're missing, right? I feel like that even goes for, I mean, like things like Yelp, right? I go on Yelp and I see reviews, and like I have a hard time trusting it because I I don't know that person. I can't
Mm.
tell if they're like me. We have the same
Yeah.
style, the same. Um, yeah, it's really hard to
And,
know.
and we're all human, like to actually take the teacher, guide, spiritual leader facade out and then just see the soul of who this person is. I think that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are, we all connected from the heart of the soul. We all have gone through our own work, our own journeys. No matter how we show ourselves, we have the same needs. We want to be connected, we want to be loved, we want to love, we want to feel freedom.
Hmm.
Are you cutting out? Oh,
No, no, no. I'm just
oh,
like
okay.
feeling
Okay.
this. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you cut out. Yeah, we all have the same needs, and wants, and also same crap that we deal through. And if we can kind of just meet on that level, the level of the soul, everything is going to be so much better in the world.
Yeah. So how are you? What's your main method? You say that you teach meditation and yoga. What has been kind of maybe the primary modality that's really resonated with you? Um, yeah, let's talk
Sure.
about
I Right now, where I'm trying to be very focused in what I do. As I said, this is still an ongoing journey, and I'm in this kind of manifest phase, which I'm still evolving and trying and creating. But where I've landed on that, I feel 100% this is what my calling is. As I mentioned, the storytelling and creating these films. The other side is more of a direct transformation or healing modality, and that's through teaching meditation. I've actually done other things like I was working as an energy healer as well, and did quite a bit of work around that and helping others, and also did some like coaching as well. But I felt like I needed to find the thing that was 100% me, and that I 100% resonated with. And teaching Kriya meditation, and Kriya meditation is what I learnt myself. That story I told about walking into that first meditation class, that is and completely transformed me. That got me here today. This is what I'm teaching people now, and it's amazing because with Kriya meditation, it goes beyond just stilling the mind, and finding peace in yourself. Okay, that's really important. But going beyond that, once you still the mind and you find peace, you want to take yourself to another plane of consciousness where you're transforming and connecting with a universal consciousness, connecting with a greater intelligence, and having a science to get you to this, plugging yourself into this greater energy field. So then you can start receiving wisdom and healing and intuition and insight into yourself, and then bring that into your life. And it sounds a bit woo-woo and esoteric, but it's really just, let's just call it connecting to your intuition, connecting to your higher self or your higher wisdom, which is all
it.
already within us, right? Cutting out?
Yeah, you cut out. You said that can
At
sound
what
kind
point?
of woo
Okay,
esoteric.
I'll start again.
Yeah, but
It may sound a little bit woo-woo or esoteric, but it completely isn't. And I can put it into more layman terms. It's like finding a methodology and a tool to. Did I cut out again?
yeah, you cut out
Okay.
again.
The universe doesn't want me to say this. Okay, I'll
Right.
try it
So
again.
you're trying to
Just as I talk about the universe, no. Okay. It can sound a little woo-woo or a bit esoteric when I talk about this, but it completely isn't. And what I mean is, and if I can put it into a bit more layman's term, it's basically having a methodology and a set of tools and a science to connect to your own intuition, connect to your heart and live from that place, connect to your higher self and your inner wisdom. All these things you were born with, you already have inside of you. But because when we grow up, we get so conditioned to and patterns that block us from seeing everything that we already are. So it's just a methodology to, one, peel back the layers and the blockages to connect to that seed of the soul, connect with who you are and your intuition and your wisdom, and then be able to live from that place. And that's what Kriya meditation is so great at doing. It goes beyond just stilling the mind and finding peace and being mindful. It takes you to that place of transformation, because once you start living from this place of the heart and your higher wisdom, everything becomes easy and beautiful, and everything you want to achieve in life will guarantee to happen. You know, I'm living the life that I'm living now, and look, I don't have a lot of money. I'm still figuring out the money thing, right? But I have no fear. I don't have a direct source of income. As I said, I'm still going through figuring it out. But you know what? I know it's all going to work out, even though I don't have a clear vision of how I'm going to get there. I do have a vision of where I want to go, but I don't have really understanding how long or how I'm going to do it. But I just trust, because this meditation technique will show you the path. It's like having a GPS system to your soul, to who you are. It shows you the path and also the navigation system of how to get there and where you need to go. So for me, it's really transforming, and it's something that I want to give back to the world and help others, as I mentioned, find their true purpose or come home to themselves. Did I cut out?
No, you're there. You're there.
Okay.
There. I'd love to break down Kriya meditation a little bit.
Okay.
Like technically, kind of, because I feel like this might be new for a lot of people. So what does it look like to do a Kriya meditation session, and what is it working on? How does it unravel to that
Sure.
soul?
So first off, I actually have a video that I created. I'd love for you to share as part of the podcast around my journey and my connection with Kriya meditation and actually what it is. But I will also explain here. So Kriya literally means action to purify the soul, meaning that Kriya basically has a whole bunch of actions and techniques to clear the energy lines. So we're all made of energy, and we all have energy channels within us. But what happens in life is things will happen to us, negative experiences, traumas, etc., will block these energy channels and energy centers called the chakras. And when they're blocked, you can't connect to this higher state of consciousness, or this place of intuition or higher wisdom. So what Kriya does is actually just an action to unblock these energy blockages. So then we can raise our energy up to a higher place, then connect to this universal consciousness, or this wider whole that we were actually all born from. So you can imagine if this wider whole is a ocean, this like universal consciousness in the ocean. We are all drops from that ocean. So I'm a drop, you're a drop. We're all different. We all have our own DNA, but we're all part of this bigger piece. And when we do meditation and other spiritual work, we're just reuniting back into that greater whole. And when we're back into that greater, wider pool of ocean, we can actually see each other and connect it to everything else that's out there. So Kriya meditation is literally a shortcut for us to get to that place, and you can do it really quickly. There's no there's no levels, there's no like time period that you need to practice in order to to reunite. Actually, the first time you try it, you can, if you're in the right place, right time, and the right energy or mindset, you can basically connect with it. And the tools you would use to do it is, just to explain what it looks like. We usually start with some light movements, so asana or yoga movements, just 5 minutes of connecting with the body. So that's important because we want to bring our energy inwards, and we want to create a strong seat when we actually sit and meditate. And also it helps still the mind as well. And then we move into a pranayama practice, so basically a breath work practice, alternate nostril breathing, so nadi shodhana pranayama. So it's another way to help bring your senses inwards and calm the mind. And then we do the Kriya practice. So the Kriya practice will be we would use breath, or we use visualization or mantra and other different tools in order, as I mentioned before, to basically sense the energy pathways within us, clear any blockages, and then also raise our energy or consciousness up into the midbrain or the third eye area. And then once we're there, we literally just let go of everything and we sit in true state of meditation, meaning we do nothing. And in that state of doing nothing, you'll start seeing that, because we've done all the prep work before, we're able to sit for quite a long period of time, and we can actually allow the information, the intuition, the wisdom just to come in. And then when you come out of it, we usually sit for about 18 minutes. When we come out of it, we just do a little grounding practice, and then we have this amazing, beautiful day afterwards. And then one thing to also mention is, usually the meditation practices, they will do, like other meditation practices, they will use a mantra or follow the breath or follow sensations in the body. We obviously we do all that, but that's, for us, it's more prep work along with the asana or the yoga practice, because we need to calm ourselves, get more peaceful mind. And then once we're there, which, as I said, you take it to the next level. And that next level is sitting and doing nothing for 18 minutes or more, to really just allow this blissful oneness type feeling, just to sit in that feeling and connect to this greater consciousness or greater intelligence. So that's what I mentioned about this first part of it, and the second part of it is really about transformation.
Interesting. And with Kriya Yoga, you would say that somebody can experience that high energy, that blissful state the first time that they do it?
Yeah, absolutely. There's no... Yeah, sorry?
Oh, no, I was just going to say, a lot of different yoga practices that personally I've tried, it takes a while. It takes quite a few sessions, maybe even months of practice to really get to that
Just
state.
months. Sometimes it takes a whole lifetime to, like years or whatever, a lot of work. Again, like, this is not, I'm not saying, oh, you're guaranteed, that everyone has different constitutions. We all come from different backgrounds, depending on how you are that day and where the amount of work that you've done for yourself, or if you're feeling connected with this type of meditation. By the way, not everyone this is not right, might be right for everyone. But this methodology is actually a science. Like, it's been going on taught and experimented and worked with for thousands of years by Kriya yogis that have passed on for quite a long time. And through the kind of refining, they've realized if we create these sequences, it's actually a very quick way to clear the blockages and raise the energy so we can connect with it. So it's a science in the way that it can get you there, right? Through a sequence and a technique that's been experimented and refined over time. It also, one sec, I just got to remember what I wanted to say. Oh, the other thing is, I don't know if your listeners have heard of Yogananda. Yogananda, who wrote he's famous for writing the autobiography of a yogi. It's also a documentary as well. and he is credited for one of the great yogis that brought yoga into the West. He brought Kriya Yoga into America. He didn't invent it, it's been around for a long time, but he was one who popularized it in the West, right? He was famously quoted saying that Kriya Yoga and Kriya Meditation is not a bypass or bypath. In fact, it's a superhighway. It's a shortcut to connect to that universal consciousness that we were all born from, connect to this greater field of energy that we all have the right to connect to. So through this technique, yeah, absolutely. If things are all aligned and you sit down, teach you this technique, you can actually get there very quickly. Maybe not the first time, but some people I've worked with, they came out of it going, wow, this is amazing, including myself. Remember my story? I said I've never even done meditation at all in my life or any spiritual work, not even done any yoga. Sat in that room, got taught by my teacher, well, just got guided by my teacher. Bang, I knew I was home. I knew that this is it. I knew this is going to change everything in my life because I was able to connect with it.
Yeah. It seems like a very like New York sort of yoga.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just get to the point. We know what we're after.
Yeah, it's true. And also the way that I've been taught, I actually learned it. My teachers are in New York, and I learned it in New York, as I mentioned. And the way that they teach it is actually quite a modern way. So we know how to teach in a way that connects with that modern person who is time poor and also has the challenges of someone who works in that modern or lives in that modern environment and all the challenges that you face while living in these environments. So I actually also teach in that way. And I forgot to also say, we also begin with a talk at the start. So when I teach, I always talk, maybe spend about 10 minutes just talking about either the science behind what we're going to teach, what we're going to learn today, or what's been taught today, or the meditation we're going to do, or some like insight into the art of living well. So some topic maybe about relationships, about being stuck in patterns, about connecting with the world or yourself, some topic, whatever it is. And then after talking about that topic, we do a meditation to help with that topic itself. Yeah. And I wanted to also add one more thing, that Kriya, there's many different types of Kriyas. There's literally hundreds types of Kriya. Remember I said Kriya means action to purify the soul, right? So there's actually not just one action, there's many different actions. So one Kriya might be to open up the heart when the heart's feeling closed. Another Kriya could be releasing old baggages or blockages that is in our unconscious, to get it out of our system. Or another one could be balancing our chakras. So the great thing about Kriya meditation is it's not just doing one thing over and over again, meaning that a lot of meditation is like, here's your mantra, every day just do the same thing, or here is just follow your breath. Actually, every day is different for us. One day we might be closed in the heart, another day we feel blocked in other areas. There's always a Kriya to work on that. And in fact, we're all different people as well. So I might have other things to work on that's different to you. So having a one size fits all kind of meditation practice doesn't fit well for someone like me, because I'm so different to everyone else, and also every day I'm different. So that's another really great benefit of Kriya. And to mention that I actually teach this online, meaning that if anyone wants to learn and try it out with me, I do it online weekly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, who are your typical students? Like, where are they tuning in from?
Oh, I have people from all over the world, Saudi Arabia to Paris to London to Chiang Mai to Philippines to New York to LA, Australia, South Africa, different places around the world. It's still a relatively small community at the moment, because I only started doing this not that long ago, but it's growing. The cool thing about it is I have a Facebook group that we connect with, so I continue the journey after the meditation practice to share any other insights that come up, or just an extension of the practice that we did, and with any more information, and talk about like books or any information that inspires me to help people on their journey. And I call that group, a way to, we're walking each other home, basically. It's all still coming home to ourselves, but we're walking each other home. So also outside of the meditation, the community, my goal is to get this community online to also connect and support each other outside of the meditation practice.
I feel like that's so important, that face to face, because when you're in somebody's physical proximity, there's literally electromagnetic waves like going from heart to heart, right? Mm-hmm. And that seems like a very powerful thing that people can kind of get disconnected from when we're always in our phones, we're always on the internet. It's good to have
fun. And you know what the cool thing about learning about this type of meditation, everything's energy based. So you'll hear me talk about energy a lot. And of course, okay, we're not doing it in a room together physically, we're doing it over the computer, but I'm actually teaching a method to understand your own energy, and a method to connect, as I mentioned, to this wider energy field. And we are all connected to that energy field. When you can connect with that wider energy field, you'll start connecting with someone completely across the world, or sitting right next to you. It doesn't really matter. We're all born from this same place. And because we are all energy, and when we learn to understand energy and our own energy and how to work with it, and understand the energy around us and the energy of people around us and the universal energy that governs everything, we begin to master life, basically, because life is energy. So if you learn a technique to master your own energy, you actually can master life itself.
It's such an interesting way to put it, right? That if we are all made up of energy, that we can kind of connect with that energy force, that life force that's in us. And if we can connect with that, we can have more influence. We can have more, I guess, kind of energy, enthusiasm, excitement to go out and do things.
Yeah.
To make difference with people.
I live my life now based on, I approach life with, taking one step back. I live my life through connecting with energy, meaning that, for instance, if I meet someone, I would immediately feel the energy, whether it's someone that I want to engage with or not, or if I can walk into a room, I feel the energy of the room, something feels off, then it's a sign to tell me that this is not something that I probably want to engage myself with. So understanding energy, not just in yourself, you'll start to, it's like guidance, like signals that you get that will help guide you in life. And then sometimes energy is so strong that you believe that it's there because it's to guide you in life. So let's talk about synchronicity, for instance, right? When you match your energy level to the energy of the frequency of the flow of the universe, where it actually wants to go, you're not resisting it, right? You're actually matching your energy with it. Everything just becomes amazing and free flowing. And the universe will start sending you opportunities and people, like all the right things will just start happening. And you know this, everyone's been through that, where everything just seems like so amazing right now. I'm in this flow state and everything I want to do just seems like it's happening so easily. I don't have to force it. I'm just kind of allowing for it. And then all these great opportunities that keep coming to me, it's because we're not resisting. to this greater force of energy, this flow of energy that's moving. But when we resist, what happens? We feel like the smallest and easiest, simplest thing to do seems like impossible, right? That's what happens, right? So you can imagine another way to look at it, the Big Bang, right? It happened 13.8 billion years ago. This energy is still expanding. It's still moving and expanding. Imagine this torrent of energy that created everything, all the stars, all the planets, the whole universe is made up of it, and the stars created us, right? We're all part of the same energetic flow. And we have been here, and we're going to be here 80 to 100 years, right? This energy flow has been around for 13.8 billion years. So how are you wanting to resist and try and go the opposite way of this flow, this torrent of energy? It's like swimming upstream in a river in a much crazier, harder way, right? It's like it's already moving one way. So why not just relax, surrender, allow, and just flow with it? And when we flow with it and we're not resisting, you'll know it. Everything just happens so easily and you just feel free. There's no resistance, there's no anxiety, no stress, and things will just start happening for you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So when you're in this flow state and different opportunities are popping up and things are working out, would you say that there's a good chance that opportunities will come up that maybe aren't right for you? Like things will come into your life that may be tempting, it may seem right, but may not be the actual flow.
Okay. So this is a question of, is it coming from the head or from the heart? Okay. So I believe that when we connect, the only way to connect and to be in free flow of this energy is to follow. So the only way to connect with this free flowing energy that's already moving from the universe is to connect and live from the heart. So when these opportunities come, you have to figure out, is it something that's manifested because you're following your heart and it's in support of your highest purpose in life? Or is it something that feels like, wow, this is pretty tempting and amazing, but is it your head saying, oh yeah, go for the money? Or like, I'm not saying money is a bad thing, so don't get me wrong. I'm just using that example. Sometimes you get sidetracked in your mission because of more material reasons, because you have fear and doubt. And the head will create fear and doubt. The heart won't ever create fear or doubt. When you follow your heart, you know it's the right thing to do. Charlie, just like you, knowing that doing this podcast, you've been wanting to do it for 7 years, now you're doing it, you know it's the thing that you're supposed to do. The head was creating doubt for you. And you're probably saying, oh, I need to get a job first. I need to make money first. Like this opportunity for this project, yes, it's diverting me from what I really want to do, and it's probably going to give me a lot of stress. But man, this money is so good. What a great opportunity. So there's two opportunities there. So you have to figure out, is it the heart? Is it going towards wellness and my full potential and connecting to my true purpose? Or is it something that's kind of distracting me away from it, ultimately making me suffer?
Interesting. Something I've seen you talk a little bit about on your Instagram is New York, and sort of the incredible opportunities that seem to arise in New York, but also the stress and also like the chaos and kind of the tension that can build in a place like that. Do you have, so for people that live in big cities that might be living stressful jobs, that might love actually being in that place, but are just finding resistance, do you have any sort of tips or personal experiences? I know yoga has really helped with you kind of get through and kind of deal with city life properly. but I'm just really curious to hear your perspective on living in a city like New York and how to do that same.
Yeah. The first thing is, as a tool, meditate. I can't stress that enough, that if you can create a consistent daily meditation practice, you will start seeing benefits of that very quickly if you're serious about it and committed to it. And I'm not saying you have to meditate for 2 hours a day or even 1 hour or 30 minutes. Even if you have 3 minutes, and let's not even call it meditation, just sit on a chair, close the doors, or just sit in a quiet place and just connect with yourself. Okay, but obviously if you can do it for longer, the better. But having a consistent practice of meditation will 100% not only bring more peace and clarity into your life, it will also take you to a place of transformation and understanding what you're here to do and finding fulfillment and meaning in life. So the other thing I would say is, and it's also in the same line of meditation, meditation is a tool to get there, is creating space for yourself. So often in living in big cities like New York, we're so busy. We don't even have time to go to the toilet, you know? Like
Yeah.
we're seemingly always just so busy with our lives, and we make it even more complicated by adding more stuff on and not pretending, just even when we're not busy, we just find ways to make us busy. You know, we get in this mindset that busy is good and is a good use of time. We're not busy, then we're no one and we're not important, or all that stuff. And it makes us egoically feel good to be busy. But what you're doing is you're not giving yourself a break. You're not giving space to yourself. You're not giving time for yourself to not only physically heal or rejuvenate and to recharge, but you're not actually creating space to work on the deeper issues that getting you stuck in life. All the things that might create anxiety or stress and things that you've buried for a long time. If you don't work on that stuff, it creates denser and denser energy in yourself, and it starts creating physical damage, and it comes out in all sorts of ways, whether it's anger or anxiety or stress and all these things that we face on a daily basis. And the irony of it is, when we're so busy, we never can find time to create space for ourselves. And it's only in finding the time to create space for yourself that you can actually work on those things and find more peace in your life. So creating any form of way of creating space, whether it's meditation or spending some time, just 5 minutes, half an hour, whatever it is, each day, walk in the park, connecting with nature, or just walking on the street, or journaling is also a very good way to process things. But creating a time and place each day to have space, so then you could see what comes up and then be able to get more clarity into it. And just the act of creating space and seeing what comes up will already be super beneficial. And then once that happens, you'll start seeing things come up, and then you'll go, okay, this is something I definitely need to work on. And then you'll start finding ways to work on, whether it's reading a book that might interest you, or looking at an internet article, or going to a workshop, or going to a class. But the only way you can get there is creating space for yourself.
In space, would you equate creating space with having some sort of, I guess, morning routine or nighttime routine, like different rituals and different habits that kind of, I know walking in the park and doing yoga is kind of one of those, but I feel like sometimes that might not be enough, right? Like, I feel like, I know for me personally, being in New York, I would go in parks, I would kind of walk around, but um, reflecting on what it is that might have helped me, I almost feel like having more little things, little reminders, little notes throughout the day, or symbols, or just like check-ins with myself to be like, okay, how am I feeling? Why am I feeling like this? Um, Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any other sort of habits or kind of lifestyle tips or routines like that.
Yeah, I think the thing you mentioned before about consistency is also key. So having a morning practice or a practice during the day, but morning is definitely for me is most beneficial because I can kind of bring in clarity and peace in my morning, and then I can bring that into my day, right? Rather than at the end of the day, that's less productive for me to have it. And then also I get too tired or I can't be bothered and I end up going out having some drinks or socializing, which seems way more fun. But I think like having a routine that, as I mentioned to you, this routine I have in the morning is about 2 hours, and that's not to say you have to do it for 2 hours. Just find something that works and consistent that you feel happy to do, and that routine will create. It could be I balance it between some sort of physical exercise, whether it's like going to the gym or going for a run or doing yoga, and then definitely having time to sit and meditate, and also finding a place that you do it. Like if you're meditating, find a spot that's consistent that you go every day, because it also creates an energy in that place that you're sitting in that collects. And then also you don't have to think about it. You're like, okay, meditation time, boom, I'm going to sit for X amount of minutes and then do it. And then through the day, I think just having space of taking time out for yourself, right? Whether it's like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there during the day, just to reconnect, taking a breather. When I was working in stressful life, like you never, as I said, you don't even have time to go to the toilet. You have to really hold it in or just wait for the right moment. But finding actually the time, and you know the time that actually when you need it the most is life will send you signals and opportunity. When you start feeling some tension in your body, that's the time to take a break. It's not to force it and try and stay in it for longer and try and fix things. Sometimes, actually most of the time, surrendering and allowing for the feeling to come, but creating space for it, taking a 5 minute breather to feel it, and then come back, you'll see a much bigger difference rather than trying to like force yourself through it. And the body never lies. The body will tell you if something is wrong. It's not the head, it's the body. Your body you'll start feeling some sort of emotion, some sort of feeling, or some sort of pain. When you feel it, that's your opportunity to go, okay, here's my signal. Go and take that little break and breather. So you don't even have to think, oh, okay, at 1 o'clock, at 2 o'clock, at 3 o'clock, or figure out like this stressful way of doing it of a time. You just have to listen and be in tune with your body. And how do you do that? Is if you meditate. The more you meditate, the more you're going to be in tune with your body, meaning that you're going to be in tune with your own energy. So when you meditate, you're actually connecting with your own energy and understanding your own intuition and your own wisdom. And then you'll be able to use these signals as your guidance into when you need to pull back, when you need to push forward, when you need to do nothing.
So interesting. The biggest one for me is my throat. I know when I'm in certain situations, my throat just goes, and it's like, kind of like what you were saying earlier. Like, I don't know if I would consider that a panic attack or anxiety or just my body saying, hey, like, think about something, check in with
Something is
yourself.
wrong. Yeah, it is. For me, they were definitely panic attacks. I would know exactly the situation I would get in and the triggers, and then my throat will shut down. So you have to, everyone's different, right? But your body will always tell you something is not right. So try and understand it, not to go, fuck you, like, or sorry for swearing, not to just go, why are you doing this to me? And just creating more separation from who you are and your body. It's just even an emotion it's not a bad thing. It's just giving you a sign. So the key is to understand, why is this happening? And that's your work. That is the journey. Actually, you don't need to go travel the world to go on this journey. You can literally every day is just to tap into understanding these signals from your body. And then from there, trying to figure out or understand or experience what's going on behind it. And be kind to yourself, be kind to it, and nurture it, and connect with it, and then see what comes up. And then what comes up is your opportunity to heal, to work through it, because that emotion or whatever, that panic attack or the closing of the throat, it's being triggered by something deep that's going on inside of you that you may or may not see. And it's obviously something in your subconscious that you need to work on. And through your own journey and research and working on yourself, you'll be able to lift the layers to see, go under the hood, go behind the curtains to see what is going on here. And once you see it, you can start working on it. And eventually you free yourself from the shutting down of the throat, etc.
That is such an incredible way to articulate this whole process. I know I don't want to hold you too long. I know we've kind of gone over time, and how are you doing on time?
I'm good. I'm just yeah. How much longer do you think you need? Do you have a few more questions?
More questions. Yeah.
Yeah. How many more?
Like 2.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, just it's fine. Just keep going.
Okay.
I want to make this work for you.
Okay. Well, I have 2. Maybe they're a little different, a little out there.
Yeah.
But one question is, when you were little, when you were like a little guy, where did you see yourself being at this age? Like, did you, like, maybe when you were like early teenager, a kid, did you have any grand ideas for who you would be when you got older?
Funnily enough, no. I don't know if that's a normal thing. I guess I was just living in the moment, but it wasn't like I mean, when I was a kid, probably more so, I was quite present and just happy and in the moment. And then I went through periods of my life, as we all do when we start kind of maturing into teenagers and onwards, things start getting a bit out there or weird or awkward. But I never really had in mind, like, well, when I grow up, I want to be a fireman, I want to be a doctor, whatever it is. But I could tell you that I've always been very intuitive. I've always been not in a woo-woo sense, like I never knew what it was, but I always had this connection with wanting to know how life worked. I always wanted to know how life worked, or understand experiences, or understand the mind. And I always had insights that would come. Like, I remember just talking to friends, and I would be the one that people would who would talk to me about life. Like, I would be the guy to talk about life for long hours and hours about, and there was always this information that came. So I guess in a way, I've always been connected with this spirit, with my own spirit, or with spirit. But probably I lost my way at some point, but not even lost my way. I just never understood what it was. It was just always there. But now for me, it's like understanding what it is, and understanding how to work with it, and the good I can do with it, and how to integrate it into my life, and actually the science behind it, like having a understanding when I can connect, when I disconnect, when I use it for this or that, but yeah, I don't know that even this is what you're asking, but that's a long-winded way of answering.
I'm so curious to know, like, people as their kid self. I feel like kids have such almost like an open-minded blank slate, sort of perspective. They're so close to that pure form, that like pure spirit, that I feel like the kid always kind of has some sort of sense of what they're all about.
Yeah, actually, I say quite often that when we were born pure, meaning that we're just pure consciousness, full of love, full of light. As I mentioned before, the wisdom, the intuition, and all that good stuff we already have inside of us, all the knowledge that we ever need to figure out life. But then what happens is we start getting taught about how to live. We start getting conditioning. Conditioning turns into patterns that we carry out into adult life. Like we get taught by our parents, our teachers, our guides, our mentors, our peers, society, culture. What is right? What is wrong? Don't do this, don't do that. What's left, what's right? You know, like what's the right path in life? And what that does is, it's not a bad thing, but it's taking, sometimes for most of us, we take it out of context. We believe that's everything there is. And if we're not following these rules or these disciplines that we get taught, then we're not normal. And think bad things will happen, or we won't reach the goals that we're supposed to reach. But what it's actually doing is unconsciously is taking us further and further from our true nature, that pure light, pure consciousness that we are. We start getting conditioned and becoming fearful because we're doing the wrong things. But even if we feel like, but this is what I want to do, but no, we're not supposed to do that. So you're moving further and further away from that. And then the further we go from our true nature, as I mentioned to you before about working in these political environments and you're going against your grain, the further we go, the more stuckness we'll have in our adult life because we're blocking ourselves from who we are. And then things will start happening, physical symptoms, emotional symptoms, diseases, all sorts of things will start manifesting. So what I believe is when we do this work, and it's the same as my analogy or my mission of guiding people home, it's actually to guide them back to that kid pure consciousness self that they were already born with. So what we're actually doing is we're just peeling back the layers of the onion to get back to that core of who we were. So in a way, we're kind of like deconditioning ourselves of all these things that taught us to be someone that we're different, taught us to be something different to who we truly are. So then we can really see who we are, what we're here to do, and how we're supposed to do it. All that information is already there, you know. And look at kids, you know, if they want to kiss someone, if they want to go and hug someone, if they want to scream, if they want to yell, if they want to play, they'll just do it. They don't ask for permission. There's no fear, you know. They do it unconditionally. If they get upset, they'll tell you, they'll cry and have a tantrum, but they'll get over it. And then in 2 seconds, they don't hold on to it for ages and be passive aggressive. They'll just get over it and then let it release, and then they'll just go about whatever they're doing presently, you know. So it's kind of like, how do we get back to that state? How can we live in that state? Of course, we can't be running around throwing tantrums. Of course, you know, these rules that we have, or these things that we get taught, we bring that in, and we create synergy in to be able to live in the world with the kind of the rules of the game, understanding how to play it and what they are, but then also do it in our way of our true nature and our true essence, and using it to help express who we are in the world.
So beautiful. Only we can just remember. Well, thank you so much, Nat, for taking the time and sharing with me all of your experiences. And I know you have millions, probably more experiences to share and talk about. But then also your techniques and what you're doing with seekers and healers and Kriya meditation. It's definitely making an impact, and it's just sharing so much light with the world. So really appreciate all of that.
Thank you, Charlie. I appreciate your work too, and creating this connection and this space for people like me to express what I want to express to the world. It's a conduit to your audience and to the world at large. And so thank you. Thank you not only to create this, but thank you for following your own path and following your own journey and opening yourself up to the world.
Well, thank you. Thank you for where can people find you at?
So I'll give you a few links you can add into the show notes, but I have my website, seekersandhealers.com. I also have Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, which I'll share the links as well. I think they're the best ways to connect with me. And as I mentioned, I would love to for people to come and try the meditation with me. If anyone's interested, they can just shoot me a message via email, which I also share, and then we can go from there.
All right, perfect. Well, I might
Cool.
see you there.
Great. Thanks, Charlie.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. This is a lot of fun.
Cool.
All right, we'll chat soon.
Chat soon. Cool.